having been bystanders to a rape and to a murder of people. And to say, oh, we can just, work around in community efforts, I think from the perspective of the victim is to miss the point.
So I feel like along with creating a law for the bystanders getting in trouble, there can be like some really big complications, and I feel like if a bystander is put in a situation in which they were threatened by the perpetrator not to do anything, but like that can't be proven, especially if it's like in a murder case, like no one can prove that that person was threatened, like not calling the police, or like they were fearing for their own safety. So how would the law kind of like go around that?
There's a clause in the law, the proposed bill, that says that if dialing 911 would place the bystander and or his or her family in danger, that there would be mitigation whereby they would be excused, full stop, but the burden would be on them to prove to the prosecutor that there was that fear.
So
but it is provable.
It is provable?
It was important for us to...
What if it's just a verbal?
No, that's fine.
Or like watching and you're like, this person's really dangerous.
The burden is on you to prove it, but the prosecutor would, if you could prove it, the prosecutor would mitigate. Indeed. That was really important for us to prove that.
What if the bystanders are intoxicated?
So the bystander has to meet the following test. Has to meet a knowledge test, that you actually see the person in peril, and 2, a capability test. And if you're, if you are intoxicated or in any other way incapacitated, then you probably would not meet the capability test according to the law.
Is this just in cases of perpetrators and victims, or also in any case of illegal activity?
We don't look at it through the lens of illegal activity. The test is that the bystander has knowledge that the victim is in a grave physical harm or in peril. And I need to add on that note, in terms of the physicality, that we thought long and hard, but we decided not to incorporate, for instance, what you see, or you think you see on social media. You guys know much more about Facebook than I do, but X percentage of the things that you see on Facebook are not really happening. They're dummy, fake. And so that's why for us, in terms of legislation, in terms of the knowledge test, it has to be in your presence.
So I kind of just want to go back to what you just said there about like the bystander needing, or the person, the victim needing to be in some sort of like physical distress of some sort.
Exactly.
So when going back to like where you started with this research with the Holocaust, and seeing how in that situation it was actually the state that had enabled a lot of horrible things to happen, and it was state sanctioned. And I think we can also think of today when some of our laws or things on the books would be perhaps considered like maybe illegal immigration, or there are other things where I feel like you could actually be saying that, yeah, this would be physically compromising to somebody and be seen as a victim, but also be legal. So how does that kind of have to do with that, and especially in the context of the Holocaust?
Totally, that's a great question. I have been accused of the following. I've been accused of a whole lot of things. This is okay, but relevant, trust me, okay? But relevant to your question. I've been accused of ignoring the reality of the Holocaust exactly as you suggest. So for me, and I hate the word, I use the Holocaust, hate the word, but I use the Holocaust and the consequence to the victim and apply it to society today with the understanding that that was, for me, a non-normative era. And we cannot, for instance, adjudicate people ex post facto. You're right, the state, the Holocaust happened as a result of the state. So for me, again, if somebody has a better word, I welcome it. I use the Holocaust, for instance, the bystander's role in my parents' extraordinary travails in the Holocaust, and say that's the consequence of bystander in action. Fast forward today with the understanding that we're talking about two very, very, very different paradigms. You're 100% right in terms of saying that then it was state sanctioned, state tolerated, state implemented, as compared to today. And you're 100% right, but hang on. So for me, the reason the Holocaust is so important, the reason the book was so important for me was 3 reasons. one, I told you earlier that I knew nothing about my parents. And if not for the book, my father, who died while I was writing the book, would have gone to his grave without me knowing anything about my father. Zero. So I look at my parents' experiences, one is worse than the other. And the world of bystander in their experiences, fast forward to today, in terms of asking myself, what are the consequences to the victim should the bystander decide not to act? Get exactly the same with the understanding, paradigm A, paradigm B, and one needs to be very careful of that, and I agree with you 100%.
Just one quick follow-up. Would you be, like, in this context today, would you be forced to, like, to report a crime that would be kind of the opposite of the compassionate response? Like, yeah, like if it's, say, like actually reporting the crime, would it be the moral thing to do?
So, my college roommate is a Presbyterian pastor in Cleveland, Ohio, who has turned his church into a sanctuary church. And there's been a lot of talk about this on the internet, blah, blah, blah. He is housing in his church a woman who is from either El Salvador or Guatemala, I don't remember, against whom there's a lawful deportation order signed by the relevant, ICE, blah, blah, blah. That deportation order is lawful in accordance with law 1234.456. The Obama administration had an executive order that said that the FBI and or ICE and or whomever may not go into churches, physically into churches, in order to arrest, detain people against whom there's a lawful detention order, deportation order. The Trump administration has yet to overrule that or to rescind that executive order, which means FBI, ICE, and whomever else cannot go into churches. Get 5 lawyers in this room, you'll get a split whether or not my friend is committing a crime or not. And there's a real split amongst lawyers as to whether or not pastors who are giving sanctuary are committing a crime. I'm serious, 5 lawyers, 5 lawyers, you'll get 10 opinions. The law is not exactly clear on this.
So I have, I guess, kind of 2 questions wrapped in.
How are we doing time-wise, Boston?
5 minutes. So, one part of it is, to what degree are you making this too arbitrary for people to decide what is really, when is someone a perpetrator, when is someone being a victim, and the other.
No, the law is very clear on this one. The perpetrator. I need to add something I asked earlier. The victim's peril doesn't have to be as a result of a perpetrator. It could be that I walk out of here and I fall, and I'm now in peril.
What if someone recognizes, like say a person of a specific race as someone who is threatening, and they see them doing something to someone else that they may see as threatening because that person is of a certain race, but not if they were of a different one?
Yeah, the whole racial. Yeah, I get it. The racial question, the gender question is an important question. But again, if you see someone in peril, that's the test. If you see someone in peril, dial 911. If you choose not to dial 911, and if you have knowledge of the person is in peril, then you're the bystander to that person's peril.
And the other part of it is, to what degree are we now making citizens instrumentalities of the state where they aren't usually?
So I told you that when you write a book like this, you get all kinds of quote-unquote fan mail, or not so much fan mail. To answer your question, I got a lovely email from a professor of political science out of Fordham University, who wrote to me the following: Professor Guiora, I either watched you on YouTube or I saw you on YouTube, I read something you wrote, whichever. You need to know something. I said, what do I need to know? That you are a fascist. Which goes to your point about are you an
Instrumentality of the state.
Hang on, I don't view it like that. I get the question. For me, the only thing that interests me is how to provide assistance to them. It's all about the victim.
Someone might have asked this earlier, so I don't know if I had a clear answer. If it's a crime that doesn't have a specific victim, so say it's like, oh, I'm an intern at some company, and I see my boss commit fraud in his taxes. Would I still?
Yeah, we've been asked. That has come up. The whole notion of property crimes or financial crimes. For us, it has to be a person in physical peril.
I just have a quick question, and maybe it's clear. Who has the onus? Whose responsibility is it to tell on the bystander? In other words, in David Cash's
So David Cash is a
David Cash was
situation.
best friends with the perpetrator, so he had this lens of friendship, I'm like, I'm not gonna get
Yeah,
my
I mean-
friend, so who's the one who's supposed to?
So Cash went into BFF mode, but, if there would have been someone else there, first of all, today, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, there are cameras everywhere. I mean, we all know there are cameras everywhere. It's not hard to see who's the bystander, when there are cameras, and there are cameras. The other people, other people who are there, that goes to this question, under the last question, but the instrumentality, is that your word?
Yeah.
Right? But again, if you think about this narrowly, it's solely thinking about the victim. And we know that there are other people